Thank you very much. First of all, let me correct you. We had 55,100 KIMS kits. We had 55,100 KIMS kits, and we deployed 46,229 for the polling stations. So we had 6 backups. So if you add that, it will not give you 14,000 as you indicated. But for those areas that we deployed KIMS kit, we deployed printed registers because even the backups were tested, and there was a challenge. And the challenge basically was arising from the logistics. And we said that for you to duplicate the SD cards, you will have to pick the biometrics for certain region, but biographic for the whole country. So if you take it to a different place, then it means that that machine will not work in that specific area. That was actually one of the biggest challenge, and it was brought about due to delays in dispatching the latest materials. You remember that some of the KIMS kits were actually held in our warehouse because of the issue of the stickers. So that could have also have contributed to that. So it's a challenge that we actually saw at Kakamega, and it is actually attributed to that. But as we are speaking, I think we have resolved that problem. In terms of results transmission, we have already airlifted the other SD cards. You can be able to do results transmission from there. And we are also going to increase time for those specific areas so that they can vote for equivalent time lost. Thank you very much.
All right, my name is Dr. Caroline Karugu. I'm Raila Odinga's Deputy Chief Agent. 2 questions. One, we have heard you make piecemeal declarations about the use or non-use of the physical register. In some polling stations it's been used, in others it's actually prohibited. Can the IEBC be clear on what is supposed to happen with the physical register? 1. 2, there is the Form 32, the KIMS kit verification form. In some places, in Kisumu, in Kisii, in Homa Bay, our people have been turned away because the IEBC does not have that form. First of all, that form is illegal because it's an administrative form for the IEBC, but not a legal document per se. So I think it's very unfair that our voters in those areas which we consider as strongholds are being turned away. So what will IEBC do, especially for those counties that I have named, so that we can be able to remobilize people to go back to the polling stations? We would demand from our side at least a 2-hour extension from the 6 p.m. deadline. Thank you.
We did communicate with the returning officers and requested them to communicate to the presiding officers that that people should not be turned away. So if that has happened, I think we can deal with it, and I would think that if you have specific cases and specific areas, we are ready to cooperate and work, because we do not want to deny anybody his democratic or her democratic right to vote. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here. I'm Leila Mohammed from NTV. I have 2 questions. They're both taking cue from what was announced earlier on the issue of insecurity scenarios that have been experienced. There was a question we raised earlier about 2 possible candidates for MCA position who were arrested in Mombasa County. What is the situation now? And are there any other instances where you've experienced some sort of, let me not call it violence, but issues around security? And number 2, the question of those voters who had gone to polling stations and they had been voters in those stations before, but today they were turned away because their names were not in the voter register. Do you have any clarity on those 2 issues? Thank you.
I will deal with the last question. That in May, June, we offered Kenyans an opportunity to verify their records and check where they are in the register or they wanted to transfer. We offered an opportunity to Kenyans everywhere to check their register, to verify their details. And if they didn't, then they carry the burden of their failure to vote. I got the Vice Chair to answer the first question.
I'll deal with the security issue that in Mombasa, it has been reported that 2 candidates fought, and since we are working in partnership with the police and all the security agencies, so they were put in police custody. Yeah, because every one of us is maintaining law and order.
Commissioner, my name is Waweru Nyambura from Minoro TV. After the challenges we've had with Kimskit, how reliable are they in results transmission, which the court said that was the most challenging part of the previous election?
We are talking about 200 Kimskit.
All of them will be able to transmit.
And those 200 Kimskit where they were failure, the CEO has confirmed that the other Kimskit have been airlifted. That means out of the 46,000 polling stations, including the ones that had failed and now new ones have been delivered, there is not going to be any problem in terms of result transmission. You understand? Yes.
Yes, I'm Fred Ogola, I'm a policy analyst. I wanted to check why is it that application of the voting processes doesn't look very uniform? And can you assure Kenyans that we are going through the same election in all regions? Second question is that has technology taken over us as a nation or as IBC? Or IBC is in charge of technology and the election? Thank you.
Can you repeat your first question, because we are not using any different.
The first question is that.
The first question, yes.
You had some areas this was allowed, some areas this was disallowed. Some saying was this policy being implemented selectively, where some people are doing A, others are not allowed to do A. And then the second question is that from the failure of technology, where technology has become a bottleneck in the voting and the transmission, is the technology taking over IBC, or IBC is controlling technology?
I think the first question, IBC is using the same system for election in all the polling stations. We do not have 2 systems. I do not have two different policies. It is one that has been explained before and it has not changed. So I think it is your imagination, which is good, to think that we are using two systems. We are not using 2 systems. On the second one about technology, IBC using technology to run the elections. It is that simple. And I don't want to add to that. Yes, we are using technology to facilitate the election.
Thank you so much.
Let me add
final press briefing at 8 p.m.
Sorry, let me add something on technology. I think we simulated how results, voting and transmission will be done. And we told everyone the first priority is the biometric. If it fails, you go to alphanumeric. And why it fails, you resort to register. And I believe, or we believe, in most areas where the technology failed, the authority was given for register to be used, especially in Kakamega and Makueni, if you've seen. But where it failed, we were using it because there was a chain. And why we didn't use register and cross is because of the Supreme Court ruling, which came Court of Appeal, which again referred to biometric being the first priority. That was the reason. But initially the High Court had said we use manual register. So it is because of those scenarios. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Napenda kujua kama mambo iko safi kwa IEBC kwa wakati huu, kwa sababu hatujamwona mwenyekiti wa serikali. Nataka tumwakishie Wakenya kwa mambo iko safi.
Okay.
Katika tume kama mwenyekiti ako na shughuli, naibu mwenyekiti uchukua mstani. Ndio maana leo mmeniona mara mbili katika hizi press brief, lakini wacha niwahakikishie Wakenya kwamba mwenyekiti wa tume yuko, tumekuwa na yeye kwa boardroom, tunaiita situation room. Kwa hivyo tukimaliza anaendelea na shughuli zingine 2-3, tukuje tufanye press brief, tunarudi huko. In the next brief, he'll be the one to talk to the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. See you when we do the next brief.
Our next brief is at 8 p.m.
Ndio kama hivyo, tume ya IEBC angalau imewatuliza nyoyo wale ambao walikuwa wanaulizia maswali mengi, hususan baada ya takwimu kuonyesha kwamba saa 6 imefika, asilimia ni 30. Lakini mpaka saa 10 kwa mujibu wa taarifa walioitoa, asilimia 56.7 ya Wakenya wamepiga kura. Bado shughuli ilikuwa inaendelea baada ya hapo, hususan katika vile vituo.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.